Hello and welcome back to Danny Phantom Month. Today we're talking about episode 16, Maternal Instinct. This one is more focused on Danny's family than his high school life. It's one of only a few episodes to really do that. Danny goes on a trip with his mom to what she thinks is a science convention but ends up being a scam by Vlad to try to get Maddie and Danny to live with him in one of his mansions in the woods somewhere. Meanwhile, he's sent a bunch of ghost animals to kill Jack, and so Jack and Jazz have to work together to fight them off. There isn't a whole lot to this episode other than a few kind of progressive moments and a couple good jokes. It's basically a mother-son bonding story between Danny and his mom. They go on this adventure together, and so they learn to appreciate each other a little bit more. His mom wishes that they hung out more like they did when Danny was little, but now he's a teenager, so he's angsty and doesn't want to hang out with his parents. Vlad has this device that shorts out Danny's powers for a few hours, which means that he has to rely on his mom to fight off ghosts. And then Danny has to outsmart Vlad in order to defeat him. He uses his mom's Spectre Deflector, which is this belt that protects you from ghosts, but then when Danny wears it, it hurts him. So the same thing happens to Vlad, and so Danny is able to trick Vlad into putting that on him, and then he's able to defeat him because Vlad is weakened. This is the first episode that brings back Vlad in a major capacity, and the reason Danny's able to outsmart him is that he plays to Vlad's weaknesses, which is his want of a family. Vlad desperately wants what Jack has, which is a family that love him. And Vlad is this desperate, sad guy who has all the money in the world but no one to share it with. And so Danny's able to trick him into saying, you know what? I do not want to be with my parents anymore. I want you to be my new dad, and Vlad completely falls for it. It's sort of interesting because Danny will use a similar tricks multiple times throughout the series, and Vlad always falls for it because that's how badly he wants it to be true. It's sort of what makes him an interesting and compelling villain, is that he has very human wants and needs, but he doesn't understand how you achieve those things. And that's what makes Danny and Vlad's relationship so interesting, is that Vlad genuinely wants to be a part of Danny's life, but Danny won't let him because he's a creep and evil and wants to date his mom. We get to see Maddie being really cool in this episode. She has a lot of fun moments. We get to see how she's actually really capable at fighting ghosts and really good at wilderness survival and skills like that end up being really, really helpful. And we get some fun kind of moments in the B plot with Jack and Jazz as well, as they kind of bond a little bit over fighting ghosts. Something that Jazz is not interested in, but kind of realizes that it is in her blood and it is in her family, and so it is a part of her whether she likes it or not. And they get a little fun B story as well. Not a whole lot more to this one. One thing to note is that there's a training sequence at the beginning of the episode where Danny attempts to do the splitting into two thing that Vlad can pull off. At this point he can only split into having two heads, but not full into two distinct Dannys. So he's not quite there yet, but we do get to see that his powers are developing. We see the Spectre Deflector, and I think there's another gadget that is sort of like a whip, which are gadgets that are used in later episodes as well. And it's a fun kind of family bonding episode. The first reuse of Vlad. Also of note that this is one of the only episodes of this season that doesn't introduce a new villain, unless you count the animal ghosts, which turn out to just be the ghosts of animals that Vlad has hunted, and he's trying to get them to work with him, and then eventually they turn on him, which again falls into Vlad's tragic flaw, never being able to have people that actually care about him because he only uses people for his own personal gain. And so even when he does get someone to work on his side, they eventually turn on him. And that's about it. We get some fun stuff with Vlad. There's a scene where he's reading a book that's it was How to Seduce Women for Creepy Rich Dudes or something like that, which is really funny. And that's about it. We do get to see that Danny's progressed a lot in his powers. He's much more capable of facing Vlad one-on-one than he was in their first encounter. But overall, not a whole lot to this episode. It is kind of fun, but it's not quite as interesting as most of the other episodes of the season. That's about it. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time for more Danny Phantom.